everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing for World Unity Week. And I'm here with Diane Corcoran. Hi, Diane. How are you?
Hi, Kathy. It's good to see you.
Yes, I'm so glad to be with you. And I'm so excited for you to share about your incredible work that you've been doing for the past 40 years on near-death experience. So, Diane, we're going to be showing one of your films that you've produced. But could you please explain a little bit about how you got into this and a little bit about your journey so people understand and get more out of your film?
Sure. I just want to make sure people know Roberta Moore produced the film. It was my idea, and she and I worked it together, but she's the actual producer.
Okay.
This journey for me started many years ago. I was a brand new nurse in Vietnam, right out of nursing school, and I worked in the pre-op recovery ICU. And one night, in the middle of the night, a very young soldier had been injured. He'd gone to surgery, came out, and he called me over to his bedside. And he said, "I need to tell you something, but you have to promise you will believe me."
Oh.
And of course, I had no idea what he was going to say.
Yeah.
And so he started to tell me this, and the intense emotion, tears are rolling down his cheeks. And he told me about what we know now is a classic NDE. At the time, this is 1969. This is pre-Moody, pre-everybody. And I had not a clue what he was talking about.
Right.
And so I just said the most positive things I could think about, oh my goodness, what a gift. You should really relish this, and I encourage you to learn more about it, and really just try to normalize the event for him, because I had never heard one before. But what it did was start a whole journey and lifetime of me thinking every provider, every nurse, every social worker, et cetera, should know enough about this, to include the doctors, that any patient who came to them and said, "Let me tell you about this," would know what it was, how to respond, why it's important, because these are intense emotional experiences that have lifetime after effects. And so when I came back home after Vietnam, I started lecturing, I started talking to people about it. But remember, I'm on active duty military at the time,
Right.
and there's nothing written about it. There are no movies, there are no books. So consequently, I think most of my superiors thought I was crazy. But I was insistent that this was something people needed to know. And of course, over the years, more things came out, and now it's almost a household word. But the military is still a very difficult environment for people to have NDEs in, near-death experiences, because it's a very closed environment, it's a very command structured environment. People are afraid they'll be labeled, that their commander will think they're crazy. Some of the veterans think they'll lose their benefits by talking about it.
Wow.
So it's been really terrible to try to break into this. We're now seeing some of our Vietnam veterans be able to talk about this, but we're really having difficulty with Afghanistan and other veterans. We want them to come out. I am going to start an online group after the conference for them, because it's so important that they have a safe environment. They won't talk to civilians usually. They want somebody that's in the military, been in the military. And since I'm a retired colonel and from the Army Nurse Corps, they know that my job was to help them as I did in Vietnam. And so I want to continue doing this. But it's so important that they have a place to talk about these experiences because it's a family situation. Not just them. The wives or husbands send their service member into combat. And we now know that in combat, there's been some research done that 48% of combat injuries and veterans have near-death experiences.
Wow.
That's huge.
Right.
And so there's thousands, hundreds of thousands in every country of people who have just been ignored, basically. We have lots of stories of people going to their doctor, going to their clergy. And the clergy, in one case, just got up and walked away. He didn't want to hear it. The doctor told this same man, not the same patient, but told a patient, I don't want you to tell me about that. And in this research that was done, they asked the question, what would you do? They asked the question of doctors, do you believe all patients should have an opportunity to talk about their experience? And they all said yes. But when they asked them what they would do, they all said refer them to psychology or give them medication.
Right, right.
And that's what's happened. So many people have gotten in touch with me. They sent them to mental health. They put them on antipsychotic drugs, which really messes them up. These people don't need therapy. They need somebody to care about them, to listen to them,
Right.
to just validate the experience, give them some articles, help them learn about the after effects and how to integrate them into their life, how to talk to their family, because that's also a difficult time for them. And it's really important because their whole value system changes and their priorities will change, which is obviously going to affect their family. And so this is a big issue for me. I want very much for us to be able to really move on this. We've tried contacting the VA, the Surgeon Generals, we've met with people, and I have probably lectured both nationally, internationally, every professional nursing program, all the services, all the US services at their major conferences. But it's still not grabbing on that this is an issue which I think contributes to the suicide rate. And I think we could help the suicide rate by doing some simple things of educating people to be there, to give them reassurance, just to validate their experience. This isn't going to be some terribly expensive issue for the military, but they just don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And consequently, they're not dealing with a bunch of people who really need this intervention and support.
Well, the people I've met, I've been a volunteer for Dianes for I think 3-4 years now. And the people that I've met that have had near-death experiences have been transformed to a point where they probably couldn't kill. They couldn't be part of the military if they were part of infantry or out in the battlefield. I imagine they aren't, they can't be on active duty like that anymore.
That's very true. I once had a West Point commander call me. We were both stationed in Germany, and he's a near-death experiencer. And he said, I do not know what to do because I'm in charge of all these young soldiers. I'm supposed to discipline them. I'm supposed to be in charge. And all I want to do is hug them and say, it'll be all right. And I said, that's not going to work in the military. And so your values significantly change, and you're not going to like loud noises, violence, bright lights, war. all the things that go along with the after effects. So it would be very hard. Same for religious leaders. I've had priests call me
Oh,
who say, I don't know what I'm going to do now. I can't teach what I used to be able to teach.
right.
And I've had general officers call me and say, I don't want to tell you my name, because of security, but this happened to me, and what do you think about that? So it happens to everybody, but we really have to start paying attention to the soldiers and finding solutions for them and preparing them before they go to battle, that this might happen. I wrote up some things we in the military call walkaway cards. It's like on a little card, it has the essentials. So you would know if this happened to you, you might have had an NDE. So you wouldn't be so afraid, so confused. And I'm hoping that we could use something like that. But education's the key. We've got to get in there and teach these professionals. And I'm inviting several nursing professionals from the military school to our conference. It's a wonderful opportunity as a virtual conference to have a one-time shopping and really learn a lot about what is an NDE, what is a near-death experience, what are other kinds of experiences, what are the side effects, what can we do? And I've offered, I said, I will act as a consultant. You can have anybody call me.
Perfect.
I'm not looking to make any money. I'm just looking to really save some souls from being so upset and despondent over all the trauma of really being a combat veteran. And you, unfortunately, they throw these people who have NDEs into PTSD groups.
That's right.
And that is not the place for them. They don't need to be in that group. They just need somebody to talk to who is knowledgeable. They have to be knowledgeable.
Yes, I think it's a very amazing study that you've done, and the fact that you didn't have one, but that your heart was touched by other people's, and you took this as your is that you're championing this for the military is really amazing. Do you want to, you mentioned the conference, do you want to explain a little bit more about that? And then also, I don't want to forget to have you mention the John Hopkins
Article.
yes.
Yeah. I actually am a childhood experiencer,
Oh,
but I have no memory of the experience. I
oh,
almost died when I had my tonsils taken out, and I had a lot of after effects for years and years, but I didn't think anything about them. I just thought they were normal. So I was way past being an adult before I ever really understood that I was an experiencer. The conference is something that Dianes, it's IANDS.org, that we do every year. Usually it's an in-person conference for 4 days, and it switches cities around the country, and they are the most incredible events.
yep.
It will change your life. I met a Vietnam experiencer who we didn't even know he was an experiencer until we had a conversation. Invited him to the conference to be the first time he ever talked about his
Wow.
experience. And he just kept coming back and saying, this has changed my life. And his wife was with him. And he was so excited, and he's gone on to learn and speak and do a lot of things. It will change your life because it's like coming home to a family. You don't have to explain it to anybody in this conference, anything about your NDE. People know it, they understand it, they accept it. Everybody has little twists and turns and different things in their near-death experiences and after effects, but nobody's going to look at you as if there's something wrong with you.
Right, right.
So it's a wonderful opportunity to become part of the Dianes family and
Right.
know that, you know, you're going to be okay and you now have friends and people who can support you. So our conference website should be up pretty soon if it's not already, but you can go to our webpage, IANDS.org, and look for the conference, and it will link you to
Right.
the webpage. And I would invite any of you to come because it's the first virtual conference we've done. So you can be anywhere in the world and still clue in, and you actually have 90 days to look at all the materials. So it's very cheap and it's really a wonderful opportunity for learning.
Perfect. And I can say from experiencing the conference and getting to be a volunteer and teach at it, that the people that are involved in this field are so open-hearted. It's as though when you mentioned it's about coming home, there's nothing like it. Because most of the time that people, even if it's a spiritually transformative experience, which they call STE, you don't have words for what happened to you. So hearing other people's explanations actually gives you sometimes the language to express it. Don't you agree?
Oh, I think so. And we'll also have what we call the experiencer room online.
Right.
We have a room where experiencers can go and sit for half an hour or all day if they want. And people come in and out and share their experiences, and there's always somebody there to help provide information or guidance if somebody needs it.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful because on several events, especially I have a military talk and we're going to have a nursing talk that's going to talk, and I'm going to talk about the military in nursing. We have people that have never talked about their experience before, and you can hear a pin drop, and it is really exciting to watch, especially men, because a lot of them have been Vietnam veterans, for the first time get up and talk about their experience. And here it is 50 years later, and tears roll down their cheeks. They are right back there and they remember every detail. And for the first time, they have somebody will embrace them and validate it. And they'll never be the same after having the opportunity to talk about it.
Well, I wanted to also bring up the John Hopkins because
Yeah.
these movies that are going to be shown at World Unity Week are just part of the outreach that Diane and her team, several people have been working for years, highly dedicated individuals to get this information in the mainstream so it could be used to support people, because there's such little known about this new category, I guess is what you would
Yeah.
call it.
We did, Lily and I wrote an article for the National Institute of Bioethics, and it was just published last month. And because of the covert virus, we can provide this link for people to read it. Ordinarily, it's a closed subscription, but right now it's open. And if anybody really wanted a copy of it, they can write to me
Okay.
at dcorcoran@gmail.com, and I'm happy to send them the link. Or you can go on my webpage, which is Corcoran Consulting NDE.com, and ask any questions. There's a place there to call me or send me an email, and I get several of those and always happy to answer them or call somebody. And frequently they're from people who have never ever talked about their near-death experience and are just trying to find somebody. It breaks my heart that somebody had to wait 50 years to find somebody to talk about their experience.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much. We're out of time, so we're gonna need to wrap up. But thank you so much for this. I think it'll give the people that watch the video a lot of insight and a lot more opportunity to get outreach, to find the resources that they need to learn more about this subject to help themselves and others. So Diane, thank you so much.
Oh, you're
Thank
very
you for
welcome.
the work.
I'm open to anybody contacting me, and will help anybody if I can.
Yes, and thank you for everything. Yeah, it's remarkable. 40 years work. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.